Okay, this might be the first time that you are seeing a student get a B or a C or an F, but we are all here to pull them out of that. Okay, and so it's not unusual for you to see some drops at the beginning of the year. So I just want y'all to everybody right? And I will say, someone had asked about the landscaping question, and I don't remember where that parent went. So my scientific research class covers the garden beds, the courtyards, and a couple of other locations that have grants for those. So if you want to chat, we can talk about what the status is of that later. But I want to say thank you to the PTO and all the parents, because honestly, we could not do what we do without you guys. Y'all are by far the best people that we work with, and we're so happy. I will pass on the microphone now at this point, and then I'll have questions at the end of the questions.
Okay, I need to follow that up. I'm the only math department representative here. I teach all the Algebra 1 and then about a third of the Algebra 2 students, and I don't coach anything.
You coach me.
But I do have a couple of clubs. I do the Women in Science and Engineering Club, and also the Treat Animals with Kindness Club.
Hi, I'm Charlotte, and I teach about half of the freshmen. So I'll teach 4 sections of human geography, and then I teach government and macro. And my clubs are, I'm a JSA, and I have First Gen Alliance, and I also have Community Voices. And as many of you know, that I've had children go through here. So I've been on both sides, and I actually have a freshman right now. I have 2 kids who are graduating from here, and just as a plug to the PTO, so I have 2 that have graduated from college, thank God, and 1 who's a freshman in college. And I actually use tips that I learned at a PTO meeting in, I don't know, 1919 or whatever year that was when I met children. Whatever century we're in. So the PTO is fantastic. The program that they do is really thoughtful and it's effective. It's really great. And then on the other side, when you're thinking about donating money, I'm just amazed by the culture of abundance. So I do a lot of project-based learning, and project-based learning is so much better than props. And props are really expensive to pull out of your own paycheck. And PTO is incredibly generous in helping us provide those. And it just creates a culture of excitement for the kids. I have all the expo markers I need, so graph and macro is so exciting. I don't know why the kids love doing that. They love the macros. They just love the little ones. And then one of the last club for PTO, I'm sorry, but we're going to sell you guys stuff. Last year, so in the springtime, I was able to take 30 kids who were first generation students, and first generation means that none of their parents graduated from college in the United States. So we didn't graduate. And we took them to 5 colleges here in the state of Texas. We took on buses, we had just an amazingly good time. And because of some of those restrictions that the PTO is talking about, we should have qualified for some money, and we thought we did, and at the last minute, because of some technicality, we did not. And the PTO came through for us, so I didn't have to have 30 crying children. Instead of that, I had 30 kids who got to go on college campuses, and the research shows us that they are more likely to graduate because they did that. So we're very
I'm Cindy Schultz, I'm a librarian. I also teach broadcast journalism and yearbook. But mostly I see a lot of freshmen during lunch. They come in and but yes, and so I want you to know that they are studying. We have a long lunch and they are in the library studying. Most of the people are, most of the students at home are freshmen. And I have a few freshmen in my class that don't have too many. That's me. Questions? Nope.
So I will resonate with all of them because they're all phenomenal. My sophomore and my junior have had partly every one of you guys. I, as a school administrator and also dealing with my daughter specifically, are there any tips to work with test anxiety? Because, like, that's what I'm hearing from my daughter, not so much from my son. He's like, Mom, I freeze. And so, are there any tips that I can do at home? Because like I said, I work at a K-8 school and I'm at a loss.
I'm just going to project, okay? Can y'all hear me in the back? I'm going to use my big teacher voice. Okay, I won't.
Alright, so that's a really, really good question, and one of the things to be aware of here is a lot of times our freshmen and our other kids feel like there's not support, but there's actually lots and lots of avenues of support here. So you just have one of them. Right? We also have Ms. Griffin. So if you ask any of your teachers or you can ask your student to do it, we can make a referral to Ms. Griffin. Kids can refer themselves. And that's actually part of her mandate. And so she is a socio-emotional counselor and she knows real tricks, right? So she can actually work with your child for several sessions to work on test anxiety. That's a big deal. Oh, there she is.
I was saying this represents an angel, and I think you literally just got it.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Kyle Griffin. I'm a social emotional counselor here, and my door is open for your students that have testing anxiety. So I see a lot of students. We work on different skills depending on when it happens. Sometimes it's before the test, sometimes it's afterwards. So we just work on and figure out what the triggers are, and we go over things and we work on those skills. And even sometimes I will push into the classrooms to make sure the students are doing those things and that they're okay. So just have them to come see me.
And then if you're at home, I think that, and I'm sure Ms. Griffin can talk about this more, but when kids are activated, and they've got all this knowledge in their brain, it just can't come out because they're so anxious. And that happens with a lot of our kids. So that's what the challenge as parents, because we want to push our kids and encourage them to do well. We also don't want to freak them out. So it's a delicate line to walk. It's a really hard one. And so, talking to your kids about that, one thing that I think I want to say, just because this is something I like to say to all parents, especially freshman parents and all the grades. So especially if you're a freshman parent, please try not to look at their quiz and exam grades. I know that sounds weird. Yeah, just don't look at them for the first couple cycles. Because what happens is they're making this huge step up. Like in my class is an AP course, which means they're taking a college class as freshmen, right? That is an enormous step up. So the multiple choice that I offer compared to the multiple choice that I've ever seen before is just night and day. So I have to give them those questions in order for them to become familiar. And I have to do it in time settings. So I'm beginning a question, you can imagine, right? So it's very, very challenging. So you're going to see some depressed grades, okay? But try not to look at them, okay? And but what you need to be doing is looking at the grade book and using it as your ally. So we've got a ton of you guys. We've got 160 students out there. More, right? And they're all very special to us. This isn't to say they're not special, but we've got a lot of demands on our time, so our grade books are your ally. So we're going to mark assignments late or missing. If you see zeros in formative assignments, that means the kids aren't doing the practice they need to get better. Okay? And that's where my son, my poor little freshman, gets consequences. Because if he's doing the practice, these are all smart, gifted kids. So it's going to take some of them a little longer than others to get it together, right? But if they're doing the practice, our practice is very intentional. So if they're doing it, you will see their student assessments go up. So it's the zeros, the missings, the late. That's where you need to really encourage your child. And otherwise, try to breathe, try to encourage them to breathe. I teach them the 5, 7, 9. That's where you suck in breath for 5 seconds, you hold it for 7, and you breathe it out for 9. That's something we can all practice because it's a stressful life.
So specifically for you, so my question, I guess, to you is there a point where you get to, as a teacher, to the students, like, you know what, you're doing that, we need to have a meeting with your parents, or, and when is that?
So I can answer from a science perspective. So all of the quizzes are open notes. So if you see failures there, they're not doing the reading at home and note taking. That's the first step, right? So if you see failing grades on quizzes, you need to say, show me your notes. And if they can't, that's pretty bad. And historically, almost without fail, if they're failing the open note reading quizzes, they're going to fail the test because they're not doing enough formative work. So for science, we do look at that as a benchmark, right? So if I have a student who is failing multiple reading quizzes, I will pull them aside and say, show me your notes again. And we do note checks. So the first cycle, we help them learn how to take textbook notes. We provide them, I know that we encourage them to do Cornell style for science. And we provide them time to learn how to do that. We do note checks where we're actually checking their notes, giving feedback on how to take better notes. But if they don't have any notebook, then we can't help them, right? So from our perspective, what we're doing is if we see a student struggling, we'll pull them aside, but they have to do their part first, right? So if they're not doing their part, I can't tutor them if they've never even read the material.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Oh, and Ms. Brody also does a really good job of helping them organize their agendas. Yes, that's something that she takes time, even though she's teaching hard math.
I really struggle with freshmen not understanding how to use a planner. I feel like that is something that I've just always done. I came out of the womb using a planner. And so every single day, pull out your pen. Some kids use it on their phone, some it's on a laptop, some it's on a post-it. Whatever they're using, I want them to write down every assignment.
And I'm sorry, on that note, so planning is essential, and some of them are fortunate to Ms. Brody, not everybody does. What all students can benefit from, especially as freshmen, is the 9th grade email, sitting down with them during the weekend, having them get out their agenda, and then actually writing it down. And that helps in two ways. One, it helps them get organized, but it also makes you aware. So I remember Tuesday morning, I was like, did you submit that project, right? So we can check on that, so we know what's going on as well. So those are ways to support them, right? And it's just that walking that line between stressing them out and supporting them.
My son is
One question.
and our son is a sophomore. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. And he's first time to the school. I know we don't have the 9th grade email. What do we have as a 10th grader?
You have a 10th grader who needs to be more responsible. It really is to the point where we contemplated doing a 10th grade email, but we also said, you know, at that point, they should be getting a little bit more responsibility, and they should be, you know, getting that. It's on every teacher's board.
Yeah, sometimes the students create their own, like Discord server or whatever, and they will do that for themselves at the sophomore, junior, senior level.
I think he's doing good, but as a parent, I just wanted to know what's going on.
You can also be a parent observer on campus.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, so we can log into Canvas?
You can be a parent observer.
Oh.
So it was sent out.
Oh yeah, no one's on Facebook.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
And we do have a question.
You've been waiting very
Yeah, I'm a freshman parent. So far it's really going good. But for her, not for me. But my only question is sometimes the assignments are due at 5:30 p.m. And I've seen that many times it is twice a week. And my daughter goes to volleyball. By the time volleyball is done and then we go home, it's after 5:30. And sometimes the assignments are due at 7:30 p.m. And she's pushing me really hard to drive faster so that, we go home by 7. Mostly it's on, I don't know, I can tell.
I wonder if, like, often for my classes, I'll have things that are supposed to be due in class, but then I will also give them a little bit extra time so I I wonder if they were able to in-class.
So the last period, typically English is the last period, and then after that we get it. So I just wanted to know, I know we don't have an English representative or teacher here, but is it like an HISD timeline that we need 5:30 or 7:30? Or is it something that I can send a note to the teacher that we hardly were able to reach home at 7:15 and we have 10 minutes to submit the homework?
I would probably have your daughter reach out to the teacher first and just let the teacher know I have extracurriculars after school. Can I get a small extension? And most of us are completely. I will. If homework for me, if it's due in class, as long as they turn it in by midnight, I still accept it. So
Yeah.
most of us are pretty lost up.
Okay.
And I think that, again, Ms. Brody really hit on a point that we want to emphasize for freshman teachers. We love hearing from you, but your kid is in high school now. They need to be communicating with their teachers. They need to be talking to us first, and then parents are back in. And that's really how we want to see it. But the timelines are usually teacher-specific or things like that, right? So, again, reaching out to them, asking for an extension, or just saying, hey, I'm a volleyball or something, so, but yeah.
That's why I'm actually encouraging her to send an email, and I did not send it. That's the main reason.
I know sometimes for freshmen they're a little shy and they're scared to talk to their teachers, so email 100% is the best thing. It's not scary at all. Just, dear Miss such, I'm in your second period class because we have 140 kids. It's hard to remember them all. So definitely have her send an email.
Real quick, we have an answer on Canva. Oh, yeah.
Alright, so there's a way for parents to access Canvas as observers. I don't have access to parents' emails. Teachers have instructions. I can send instructions to all the students. If you want to do that, I can do that for you. Or if you want me to send it to you, you send me an email, I can send it to you.
I looked, it was really easy to look up. I literally just Googled
Yeah, I just Googled check Canvas and observers. I do find a website that we use to how to create an account. But if you want to help us with people, I can take the website and we can see if I can help you. Okay? Thank you.
So I have a quick question. So I absolutely love the parent observer on Canvas. Like, I think it's great, it's super easy to log in, you scan the QR code. And I love the calendar. Now, are all the teachers using the calendar for the assignments? Because there's one class that I can't find any assignments for. And so I was wondering if there's any way to ensure uniformity so that we can know what's going on as parents without having to log into like the student Canvas and then go look at an Excel spreadsheet with dates and assignments. Is there any way that we can work towards uniformity on that?
So I think that just depends on the teacher, right? So I know for biology, we do almost all of our stuff in class. The only outside assignment is reading and taking notes. So there aren't any assignments in Canvas for that. So because we do them in class. So there's nothing that we would assign them other than their reading and taking notes. So I think the challenge in uniformity that way would be because it depends on the subject, right? So I wouldn't have any assignments, and I wouldn't necessarily make a specific calendar when I've posted a Word doc that gives them the whole cycle at one time. So I think that just is something that the student needs to be putting it in their planner if you want to see maybe that way seeing it all in one snapshot or the 9th grade email.
Or knowing when tests are?
Yeah, so for example, my whole cycle, the entire cycle is posted. It tells you every quiz, every test, the topic we're doing for that day. They know that the whole 6 weeks in advance. So there's no surprises. And I post it on my whiteboard in my classroom, and I announce that stuff and remind them. So
I think the reason I'm asking is I subscribe to the calendar, so it's on my calendar, so I can see in that way. I'm able to see when she has a test, and she can't BS me about, oh, I don't have anything going on.
Yeah.
I know you have a test tomorrow. Things like that.
And we understand that as parents, it's very difficult to kind of keep track please try to understand that this is a special year and we have a lot of constraints on our time. So like Ms. Ford, I prepare a unit calendar, so they have all of their deadlines, every quiz, every test, every topic. They have that the whole 5 weeks in advance, so it's there and it's present. But at this point, I don't have capacity. I have to give up something else in order to go in and put those deadlines in Canvas. Because in this age of ChatGPT, I turn everything in paper. Yeah. And that's just how I respond to that challenge.
So I'm going to wrap it up because of time, and for those of you that don't know these particular, this is our former PTO rep right here, by the way, just so you know. So he's already put in the time. These are some of the most dedicated. I mean, all faculty, everybody is very dedicated. These are already some of the most dedicated people, and so I can't say enough. Thank you. I'm just going to say that, first of all, we have a YouTube channel, wildly popular. Everybody's talking about it. It's all you subscribe and probably monetize those things. But if you look back at the first meeting every year, this is what we do, and it managed to record it correctly, unlike what I did the first time, which is just hold my phone and not record anything. Similar questions are asked every year, so you can get more answers. So, FAQ kind of thing. Thank you for staying. We are planning to do some socials. We're going to entice faculty with drinks. And see if we can get them. And, you get to know those people and not just, people teaching. Principal Moss? I know you want to go. People also want to hear, so.
I'm ready.
As you wish. Can I say this? Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, teachers, and I would also like to point out this first bachelor's here with us. You've been Mr. Sehan, our IT guy. We have our CSR, Mr. Kwan No at the back in the blue shirt. We had some of our administrators here earlier, and they had other obligations. We also have Mr. Hermosillo, who is the friendly voice when you call, and one of the first persons you see when you come into the building. We also have Miyuki Scott, our physical education teacher. And I'm not sure if I've missed anyone, but anyway. Oh, right in front of me. We have two new additions to our staff. We have, in our science department, we have Mr. Jonathan Lowe and Ms. Maisha Turner. All right, thank you all for being here. And once again, thank you all for being here, and for those of you who are watching at a future time. I will try to be very, very brief in regards to the state of the school. Once again, I want to thank you as parents and our PTO in general for everything that you do. There are so many things that the PTO contributes, not to our team, not to our community, but to our Carnegie family. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I embrace all of us. This is my 20th year here at Carnegie, and I always say this is the best gig that I've ever had because we embrace each other. And thank you for keeping me and allowing me to be here. We all love our students, and they continue to amaze me with everything that they're doing. And, I'm just flabbergasted all the time with what I see in the classrooms, in and out of the classrooms. I want to say we had a great start of the school year. Our enrollment currently is 830. We projected 825. Every year, close to the end of October, HISD has something that they call Snapshot.
They look at, it's usually the last Friday in October, and they compared the enrollment to what principals projected the previous spring. So right now we have about 5 students over our projection, and hopefully we'll be in good standing. You probably know that our budget is driven by our enrollment, so we're in good standing. Today, just this morning, I had a preliminary budget meeting. Previous to today, many schools thought that they were going to lose funding. For Carnegie, it was going to be about $145,000. But as of this morning, our budget is great. We're not losing any money, and so we have enough money to hopefully carry us through. The final projections won't actually occur until snapshot, which is the end of October. Knowing that we're not losing any money, our priority is safety above anything and everything. So we do have a new campus officer this year, and I talked to her after the budget meeting today to see if she would be available a few minutes before school and about 45 minutes to an hour after school. Also, in addition to any kind of events that we have over the weekend, mostly on Fridays with athletic sports games, dances, so on and so forth. And so she's very amenable to staying, and we'll pay her extra duty for all those different events to make sure that we're safe and secure. Also, we have started with a great, strong academic performance in classrooms and elsewhere. You may have heard that we made the news with U.S. News and World Report. We are ranked number 35 nationally, number 5 in the state, number 1 in the metropolitan Houston area, and number 1 in HISD. So we're extremely proud of that. And we certainly thank you for your support. Also, I noticed we have some parents of seniors here. I'm extremely proud. It seems like we had some scholarships presented much earlier in the school year than usual. This year we had seniors who applied for the Citgo scholarship. There were 22 recipients, I guess, not just HISD-wide, but throughout the Houston area. But I'm extremely proud to say that 6 of those recipients are from Carnegie Vanguard High School. And so we had the most or the highest percentage of those recipients at our school. So I'm sticking my chest out a little bit on that. Also, I wanted to point out this is a new HISD, and so our focus for this current 23-24 school year, besides safety, is academic progress. And of course, we're always striving to meet the master's level on the state exams, which is STAR, but also outside of that, high expectations elsewhere. Checking for understanding is a huge focus right now. So the administration is in classrooms very, very frequently, helping to ensure that high quality instruction and high quality learning is actually taking place, and helping to coach as best that we can with our students. Also, the use of multiple response strategies, or MRS for short. That's something that you'll hear, and that provides teachers different strategies to check for understanding, and that adds tools to our teachers' toolkits in order to assist our students. And when it comes to academic performance, you will hear a lot, we're going to stress a lot of the opportunities for our students to put their best foot forward in terms of academic performance. The first one is called MAP testing, or NWEA testing. It's very similar to previous years. You may have heard the terms Renaissance 360 or Universal Screener. Our students are taking various tests 3 times a year. Beginning of the year, we call that BOI, middle of the year, MOI, and end of the year, EOI. Our students are being tested in English 1, English 2, Algebra 1, and Biology. The first test, let me back up. The MOI, middle of the year, and the EOI are more critical because they will actually analyze the student performance and progress over time. That starts with the beginning of the year test. The next critical test that we have is going to be the PSAT, and that is for our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. That will take place on, I believe it's October the 10th. It's a Tuesday. Our seniors are going to be allowed to come in just a little bit later so that we can start our underclassmen with the PSAT. The PSAT is the preliminary SAT, and it's very important that our freshmen and sophomores have experience with the format of the test, so on and so forth. It really becomes critical in the junior year because that's tied to the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. And many of our juniors will actually qualify for various scholarships. So we certainly want to prep our students for the PSAT and especially the SAT by actually getting them involved and familiar with the PSAT starting at the freshman level. I mentioned the STAR test, the state assessment, which will take place later in the spring. And of course, there are 5 levels. It's Algebra 1, Biology, and English 1 for our freshmen. It's English 2 for our sophomores and U.S. History for our juniors. Our students typically do extremely well with meeting the minimum expectations. And so we usually don't have to worry about that. Our students pass with flying colors. If it's not 100%, it's 99. So what we focus on is meeting the master's level. I talked about that a little bit earlier. And because all of our students are identified as gifted, that is the expectation that we have. And so we've had great success with that over the course of multiple years. SAT will actually take place for our juniors in the spring, and that is tentatively scheduled for March 4th. And of course, we will prep you along the way in regards to these are very important dates. And then ultimately, the AP test for various different subjects are usually the first 2 full weeks of May. And so anyway, I'm just kind of giving you, I guess, a year, a look, how do I say it? A year in advance glance of what's to come. There are various different tasks and responsibilities our students have performed very well within the last, I guess this is our 5th week of school. I want to ask for those of you who have not already performed this, please go into the parent portal and fill out certain documents. One of them is a socioeconomic form. There is the lunch application, the media release, and there are probably others that I'm forgetting. Thank you for those who have already submitted that, and thank you in advance for those who will hopefully complete that. We are less than a month away with our deadline, and hopefully we'll have 100% of those forms submitted. And then I want to ask you to help us. There are some ways that our students can make improvements. You may know that we open the entire campus during lunchtime. We have a very long lunch so that students can multitask. They can do various different things one at a time, or sometimes they can do things simultaneously. They can go to teachers' rooms for tutorials. They can meet with their peers who are members of the National Honor Society to have peer tutorials. They can have social time and obviously eat their lunch. And once again, do a combination of those things simultaneously. So because students have the entire roam of the campus, we've had to remind them to pick up after themselves. We are extremely shorthanded when it comes to our custodial staff, so I want to encourage you to encourage our students to please pick up after themselves. And that's just one more responsibility that we would like to add. Along with many of the other things that we've mentioned tonight, we do like to have a lot of fun, and we like to reward our students for their hard work. Because our students are identified as gifted and we have a Vanguard program, there are expectations that we are going to challenge your students. So I know, especially for our freshmen, we recognize that there is a certain acclimation period. The teachers that you saw here are only a fraction of the ones that you'll meet. Please know that our teachers work very well collaboratively to make sure that our students' needs are being met. They meet very frequently, and a member of administration, if not the entire administration, will meet with them in what we call PLCs, our professional learning communities. And we have PLCs for every grade level twice per cycle. So we've already had one for cycle 1. We'll be moving into cycle 2 shortly. The cycles are designated to be 6 weeks in duration, with the exception of cycle 1, which is right now. I believe it ends on Monday, which is October 2nd. And the other exception is cycle 6, tends to be slightly shorter, plus given the 2 full weeks of AP testing, so on and so forth, it tends to be quite shorter. There was a question earlier about different interventions. I do want to point out, besides the professional learning communities, we also have 3 times per year we have growth plan meetings. And these are students who yet to fully acclimate and maybe need additional interventions. So we will schedule meetings with those students and the parents, and the teachers will discuss what we can suspect are some deficiencies and a plan as to how we can provide additional interventions to ultimately help that student achieve mastery. So those are additional things that we do. I do want to point out that, or maybe this is a pop quiz, if y'all don't mind. Do you all know the start time, the time that students are expected to be here each and every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday? Anybody know? 8:30. All right. And if you can get your students here prior to 8:30, we're very appreciative. 3 days a week, we do have something we call advocacy, or the teachers may refer to it, or the students, as SSEP. That stands for Study Skills Enrichment Period. It is not intended to be last-minute homework time. It is intended for students to be able to network with each other. They can communicate about what they learned, what they studied or read the previous night for the homework. It's also a time if they need a quick tutorial from a teacher or the NHS tutors, so on and so forth. We built it in, especially for the beginning of the year, because it usually takes a few weeks for our HSD buses, or bus transportation, to solidify routing and scheduling and ultimately start arriving here on time. The same thing for private transportation as well. I do think this year transportation got it better than any other years, so our buses especially are arriving on time, so thank you for that. We are considering some changes to the timing of the SSEP because we definitely want to be very efficient with our instructional time. And I think there's one other reminder. Oh, I think that's it. I definitely want to thank you for your time. I am here to answer any questions that you have. And if you even think of some afterwards, the best means of communication for me are via email. rmoss@HoustonISD is my email address. And you know, a lot of people, and especially our higher ups, our officials in HISD, compliment Carnegie, our students, our parent, and ultimately our family about so many different things. They call us a well-oiled machine. I'm not convinced of that. I'll never say that we're perfect. I welcome your feedback, good or bad. And I love a devil's advocate because I don't expect everybody to think like me. So I appreciate any kind of, first of all, I appreciate your support, but I also submit your eyes and things that you see that we can improve. Because if we don't hear it, we can't continue to improve. So I want to thank you in advance for that. I always say, like the movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll take the good and the bad, just not the ugly. So once again, thank you. I want to field any questions that you may have. I do want to be cognizant of your time. And I don't see any hands. Oh, yes, in the back. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Do you, with all the things that are happening in the district with our new superintendent, do you have any sense of how Carnegie might have to adjust to new demands or new requirements coming from the superintendent?
So schools that are rated A and B, or A and B schools, do have a little bit more autonomy. Other schools have to follow a certain schedule, and as I understand it, it may be a block schedule. As you all know, we have a modified schedule. We have 3 days, which are traditional, all 7 periods plus the advocacy, and then Wednesday and Thursday are our block days. So we have a little bit of flexibility with that, as well as our curriculum. With us having the majority of our classes being pre-AP and AP, we more or less follow the College Board curriculum, which tends to be at maybe a higher level. You heard one of our teachers mention our freshmen have their very first college course as 9th graders, and so we understand that expectation. And being their very first AP course, our students do extremely well on the AP exam. So that tells us that we, our students and our parents, are doing something right. One of the things that we've implemented are the MRS, the multiple response strategies. And I think that can only strengthen our program because we are checking more frequently our student understanding. And so we still are, I consider, in the development phase of that. I am in the infancy phase of coaching in the classroom. So I'm certainly developing those skills in order to certainly help that understanding with our students. And so I would say so far so good.
And does that also apply to the teachers and their evaluations? Are they sort of in a different place than the teachers that are being evaluated differently this year?
So there are new aspects of the teacher evaluation and also the administrators, our principals evaluations as well. And so we're also learning that. We are continuing with something from previous years, which is called T-TESS, T-TESS, but also something new this year are spot observations. And so those will actually begin starting, I believe, next week. And so again, we are learning those, and we look forward to implementing those evaluations as we enter the classrooms. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the evaluations, the spot evaluations that you'll be doing, if there's something detected to be an issue in the classroom with the teacher's teaching style or something else, what is the corrective action that is taken?
Thank you. The question is in regards to the evaluations and the spot observations, if we notice something that I'll just say can be enhanced, that is something that the administrators will work with the teachers. Just as the teachers are very nurturing with the students, so are the administrators with the teachers. And so I am not ever going to pretend to know everything about every content area, but one thing I'm very comfortable with is that myself, Mr. Garner, and Ms. Matsu, we know what high quality instruction and what high quality learning looks like. So if there is any kind of advice or opinion that we can yield to the teachers or even to the students, that's what we're going to do. The expectations is that administrators are much more frequently in the classrooms than we have been in the past. And it is expected that administrators have kind of fewer responsibilities outside of instruction so that we can focus on instruction. And so, again, we'll be very nurturing with that. I'm very proud to say I feel I have a very strong rapport with students, and especially our upperclassmen who we've learned each other over the course of time. Many times our freshmen are new and they may be a little anxious about approaching an administrator, so I try to be very lighthearted about some things, and I try to engage students in very brief conversations about, hey, I like those shoes, where'd you get them, that kind of stuff. So, we're all trying to build a rapport so that our students do feel comfortable, and if they have a need, they can always come to us, so that we serve as a resource and a guide for various different things. And so I have had some conversations with students about different teaching methodologies. And we know that obviously we have teachers who have different teaching methodologies, and we feel that it's important for our students to learn in various different ways. We also understand, we're very cognizant that some teachers are auditory learners, others are visual, and that others are kinesthetic. And then that also changes based on the content, so on and so forth. So we do encourage our teachers to present in various different ways. Does that answer your question? You're welcome. I saw another hand. Yes, sir.
So more expansion of the same theme, and we've loved the school so far. It's our first year here, and you've been here a couple of decades.
Yikes.
Do you feel that any of these changes coming down from HISD, sort of a summary statement, are they going to have any impact, you feel, upon the teaching body in a way that would lower the standards of the school? And how tuned in is the state to the visibility that the school has, both in this community as well as nationally? Is there anything that we as parents and PTO can help with that?
Thank you for your question. This is one thing I love about our family here. I truly appreciate the involvement of our parents, and especially when you're willing to be spokespersons for us. And you're so in tune with what our needs are. I don't know the perspective of the state in terms of Carnegie. Obviously, we're highly ranked, and I would like to think they're very appreciative of the hard work that all of us contribute towards. I do know that we are we've been complimented by our higher-ups, and especially new members of HISD, and especially our higher-ups within the central division. Carnegie is part of the central division of HISD, and we've been complimented by our central division superintendent. As of right now, I do not expect any of the new changes with HISD to hinder our program. If anything, I'm very hopeful that, again, it will enhance, and I'm hopeful that our students will see, especially with the attempts to check for understanding by using these multiple response strategies, that we are hearing more of a student voice in the classroom, that our students are engaged, and they are illustrating that by their collaboration, by their communication, their networking with each other and with the teachers. So as time goes on, when we step into a classroom, it's not an atmosphere where it's silent and compliant, but it's more collaborative with the learning. Fingers crossed. Yes?
The criteria for the teacher evaluations, is that a criteria that is being developed or modified by you, Assistant Principal Matsu, Werner, in any way, or is it being handed to you? Because I think that makes a difference.
So T-test will continue for the most part, as it has been. But again, what's new are the spot observations, and we actually haven't gotten into, implementing them. That won't actually come to fruition until starting next week. And so a lot of it remains to be seen. But one thing that will continue, as what I mentioned earlier, is where we see, I don't want to say a problem, but when there is an opportunity to enhance what we already have, then we'll certainly make those efforts to do so in a very nurturing way. And again, we believe very much in working with our family in order to make improvements. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay. If you happen to think of questions, again, rmoss@houstonisd.org is my email address. The bulk of the day, I'm in classrooms along with our 2 assistant principals, Mr. Garner and Ms. Matsu, but we would love to receive your feedback. And if you don't receive a response within 24 to 48 hours, please reach out again. Please attribute that to, I guess, my head, not my heart. And unfortunately, sometimes there are some types of email that go directly to spam. So if I don't respond, or Ms. Matsu or Mr. Garner don't respond, that may be the issue. I think we've had some issues with Yahoo and some Gmail accounts before. And also, you feel free to call the school. Our front desk personnel will gladly take a message for you, and will gladly return your call. Yes, ma'am.
So I have 2 kids here, and you've been great with responding.
Thank you.
Whenever I email.
Thank you so much.
And all the freshmen, parents.
Like I said, we're a family, and this is the best gig that I've ever had. And I'm I feel blessed and fortunate to be able to work with our students and with our parents as well. So thank you so much. And with that, I'll turn things over back to PTO President Calzada.
Okay, move to adjourn. Second? Yeah. Okay, y'all have a good night. Thank you.